Dialing it back to the radio days here on a Friday, Locked On Vols. Top 20 Tennessee Volunteers. We're going to draft them 1-2, 1-2. And I've got a special guest on here to help me out today. Your Tennessee Volunteers player draft here on a Friday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome into it, a Friday, Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Cainer. That guy with me, if you're watching on YouTube, he is the voice of the Lady Vols, a co-host of the Eric Cainer Show on 99.1 The Sports Animal. It's Brice Rice. Brian, good Friday, man.
Yeah, happy Friday. It's always good to be with you. Always good to be on the platform here on Locked On.
We're going to have a whole lot of fun today as well, okay? As I said in the open, we're going to do the player draft, top 20 players for Tennessee on this current roster. 10 in segment 1, 10 in segment 2, and then I'm going to get into scouting the opponent. We'll take a look at the Kentucky Wildcats here to conclude a Friday show. Everydayers, thanks so much for being here. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so simply, it's just kind of simple. You can make it your own, but this is Tyler Ivan's brainchild. And when I thought about doing this, I remembered he's about to go on the air. So I got Brice Rice, who's done it with us a little bit before. But we're just going to draft the top 20 players for Tennessee. You can make it your own or whatever, but it's a whole lot of fun. And so when the player's selected, he is off the board. I'm going to keep track here, and at the end of it, we're going to see which team is more competitive, mine or Brice Rice's. So, Brian, since you are the guest on the show today, I'm being so generous, you get the first overall pick. With the number 1 overall pick, who do you take?
If I pick anybody other than Joe Milton, I'm committing malpractice. He's your QB1. He probably has the highest ceiling NFL draft-wise of anybody on the roster. With a good season, with his measurables, you look at somebody like Anthony Richardson being a top 5 pick. You look at the quarterback position as a whole. Big body, if he's a good decision maker, if he's accurate with some of those downfield throws, then he has the highest ceiling. So Joe Milton's got to be the number 1 pick, and that's where I will build out from.
I was going to make fun of you if you did not pick Joe Milton, because, again, I will later in the draft pick Nico just because I have to have a quarterback. But, Joe Milton might be, top 5 SEC quarterback, might be the best SEC quarterback if he puts it together. We will see. But he's got the highest potential, and, of course, in this offense, we'll see if he can flourish. Joe Milton's off the board. We'll go to the number 2 overall pick, and I will take the guy that he is going to throw to an awful lot this year. I'll go with Bru McCoy, former 5-star wide receiver. Kind of a unique, we'll call it, route to get here to Knoxville. And he was kind of the forgotten guy last year. You had Cedric Tillman with all the hype. You had Jalen Hyatt coming in, Biletnikoff Award winner. But the guy on the left side over there just caught a lot of balls and was steady Eddie for you. He will be that next in line, in my opinion. So I will take Bru McCoy with a 2nd overall pick.
As I go to number 3, I think you have to go running back at this point because the running back position is so big in the Josh Heupel offense. The run, if you went back and looked at the Alabama game, they showed the replay of that a ton this offseason. Gary Danielson's talking about the importance of running to set up the pass. You have to run just enough to set up the pass. So when I look at running backs, I think I'm taking Jaylen Wright. Jabari Small has kind of been your starter, but for me, Jaylen Wright gives you the most upside at that position right now, and so I'm going to go Jaylen Wright as my running back. But shout out to all those guys because I don't think you can go wrong. Wright, Small, Simpson, of the proven guys that we know about.
Which is why I'm going to hold off on running back since you took Jay Wright off the board, and I think that Small's going to get a ton of run, no pun intended. It's going to be a shared workload, but I think Jaylen Wright has the most potential of that group, and I think he should have gotten some more carries last year, if we're being honest. You have Jaylen Wright. I'm going to go ahead and double down here at wide receiver, all right? This, I don't think it's a stretch, but from what he's done in college so far, you could say that, because he really didn't hit his stride until the last couple of games last year. The newcomer, if all goes well, potentially could be one and done here at Tennessee. Slot, outside, got to lay eyes on him in spring practice, and he is long, explosive. He's going to be really good in this offense. I'm intrigued how he and Squirrel both are going to work in the slot, but I can't wait to see it. Give me Dante Thornton. I'm going to double down at wide receiver. A little risky here with the number 4 overall pick. Give me Dante Thornton.
I think he's a great choice. He was going to be my next off the board. I had a strong consideration with taking him before taking a running back. Now I have to go wide receiver, but or else you're going to have all of them on your squad. And so I'm going to go with the best deep threat, in my opinion, and that's Ramel Keaton. Ramel Keaton has the most to prove, but we've seen this coaching staff on offense turn players who were just a guy at some point into stars. Jalen Hyatt hadn't accomplished a ton before last year. Cedric Tillman, before the first year that Josh Heupel was here, was just a guy. I think Ramel Keaton's somebody who can explode. He can get down the field. I think he's an important part of this offense, and he's going to have a big year, particularly with what else you have at receiver. He's the kind of guy who can focus on getting open, getting down the field, and he will open up guys in the slot like Dante Thornton, like Squirrel White, or Bru McCoy even over the middle.
25% the way through our draft, no defenders. We have all offensive players.
Come on.
But I like it. Because, I mean, honestly, like at this stage in the draft with Tennessee's current roster, there's no Byron Youngs. There's no, Jeremy Banks was very productive here. There's no Jeremy, but there's no Alante Taylors. So I'm going to stay on the offensive side of the football still. You already went running back. We've got 3 wide receivers off the board. Nico is, unless you just want to poach him later, Nico's my pick. So I am going to go offensive line, and this might be more of a Tennessee pick. This isn't an NFL draft projection pick, but for a Tennessee pick, I'm going Cooper Mays. Cooper Mays, very important.
Offensive line, I think.
Yeah, offensive line is very important, obviously, but very important. We saw when he was out in 2021 a little bit how different the offense looked. Jerome Carvin's an NFL player, but he's not the best fit at center for this group. So the importance, the lack of depth. Give me Cooper Mays.
Yeah, I think he's your anchor on that offensive line. He's certainly the most explosive, or he's the most experienced guy. And your center is certainly knowing what's going on is the key to this offense. I'm going to stay just down the line from him. I'm going to take another newcomer. I'm going to take McKellen Castles at tight end. I think with the body type that he has, he was thought by some that if he had gone to the NFL draft last year, could have been not only a draft pick, but maybe somebody who was drafted in the top 4 rounds. I don't know that I buy into that based on what he did previously, but when you look at what he's done previously and what he could do in this offense, replacing Princeton Fant, you're talking a more athletic, faster Princeton Fant. Give me McKellen Castles. He could be dominant in this offense this year.
Yeah, he really could, and Tennessee's going to need him to play well because they've wanted to always play 3 tight ends, haven't had that luxury. Right now, you just have one proven tight end in this offense, so McKellen Castles has really got to come along, and he came here for a reason. He wants to go to the NFL, and he's already on a lot of NFL boards, so a nice year here. Maybe he'll get that dream come true. Again, not the sexiest picks here, but I'm trying to poach all the best available. I did that at wide receiver, in my opinion. I'm trying to do that on the offensive line. Give me Javonte Spraggins. He's a guy that is the most underrated. Now with Jerome Carvin gone, he is the most underrated. Nobody ever talks about him offensive line. All he's done is about to be a 3-year starter, played a lot in that 2020 season. He is a little undersized, but he's dirty, he's nasty, everything you want in an offensive lineman, and he has already been showing up on some way too early NFL, scouting boards and all that. So give me Javonte Spraggins, Cooper Mays and Javonte Spraggins anchoring that offensive line. You have a little bit of returning experience left on the offensive line, and of course, some questions.
I'm going back to receiver. My up front is going to be probably a little thin based on what you're going to be able to take between now and then. But give me Squirrel White. I've got my guy on the outside. I've got my tight end, and now I've got a guy in the slot with speed that's going to get downfield and is going to pick up some big yards for me. So give me Squirrel White. I think when you're talking about the throwing ability of Joe Milton, you need those deep threats. And so Squirrel White's a guy who's ready to step in. I think he showed that in some of the garbage time last year. Let's get him in an even bigger position this year.
With the final pick of the first round here in segment number 1, for the first time, we are going to go to the defensive side of the football. I wanted to go tight end here. I wanted to go Jacob Warren. I'm not going to lie to you. But I thought if I go ahead and take up probably the most productive player on the defensive side of the football, that'd be good here to end segment 1. Give me Aaron Beasley.
Yeah.
The former safety, the former running back, spent some time away from the team, off the field issues, came back, was thrust into a big-time role in 2021. They had 2 spots, had 3 starting linebackers last year, and he was the best of the bunch. A really strong finish to the season. I like Aaron Beasley here, and I think he's going to be poised for a nice breakout year. So, round 1, Joe Milton is your quarterback. Brian takes him. The number 2 overall pick goes to wide receiver Bru McCoy. Brian takes Jaylen Wright with the number 3 overall pick. I take Dante Thornton at number 4. Ramel Keaton goes to Brian at 5. Cooper Mays to me at number 6. McCallan Castles to Brian at 7. Javonte Spraggins to Brian at number 8. Or no, to me at number 8. Squirrel White to Brian at number 9. And Aaron Beasley to me at number 10. So far, 9 offensive players drafted. Only 1 defender. What do you think so far, Brian?
I think I'm throwing the football everywhere, and I'm going to have to because I haven't backed it up with anything else. So I have a great 7-on-7 team. Let's see what else I can get in round 2.
Round 2 coming up. A lot of defenders, and of course, I still got to get a quarterback and a running back. That and more coming up next here on Locked On Vols. Hey guys, want to tell you about our friends LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new hire, it feels like a high-stake wager for your small business. Take a lot of care of that, right? And you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your small business that you want to hire for your team faster and for free. Again, I say this all the time, but we have all been in that situation. Brice Rice, myself, probably you, putting our resumes online at LinkedIn Jobs, helping or hoping to take that next step in our career, right? Land that next job, that stepping stone job, or maybe your dream job. LinkedIn Jobs has helped a lot of people reach their dream job, but maybe you got your dream job. Maybe you are owning and operating a small business, but you need some help. And not just any help. You need people that are good, qualified, and are trusting with your baby, with your product. You can find those people at LinkedIn Jobs. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates that have just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you want to interview and then ultimately hire. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering qualified candidates to its leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Round 2 of our Tennessee player draft. I'm Eric Cainer here on a Friday, Locked On Vols, voice of the Lady Vols basketball and softball teams, co-host of the Eric Cainer Show. He's pretty much everywhere there's a microphone. That is Brice Rice joining me today. Round 1, quick recaps of the picks. This is Brian's team so far. He had the first pick. Joe Milton, Jaylen Wright, Ramel Keaton, McCallan Castles, Squirrel White, and then my team, Bru McCoy, Dante Thornton, Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, and Aaron Beasley. So we will start with round 2, and Brian, you are on the clock again. This will be the 11th overall pick of the Locked On Vols Tennessee player draft.
I'm going defensive line. I'm going Amari Thomas. I think he is your disruptor up front. Certainly Tyler Barron's going to be great off the edge, but I think Amari Thomas has the potential to be your disruptor in the middle, and you're going to need that. If you want to stop the run, if you want to put some pressure on the quarterback, certainly getting pass rush from your edge guys is going to be important, but I think Amari Thomas sets that up with how he plays in the middle.
I like that. That is a really good pick. If you're not going, in my opinion, if you're not going Aaron Beasley, pick number 1 on defense, it should be Amari Thomas. So that's a really solid pick. Kind of was playing Matthew Butler type snaps at the beginning of last season, but then Tennessee was able to create some depth, which was huge, and his snap count went down. But thought, if I don't know how you view this, but I think it's just hilarious that we do, preseason third teams. The fact that he didn't get on the third team, though, having said that, it's just crazy to me because he's been a big time player in this league for the last couple of years. So anyway, that is a good pick. I will go back to the offensive side of the football, and I will take Jacob Warren. I do need another pass catcher. I do need, if I'm going to run this offense, I do need a guy that's kind of a Swiss Army knife that allows me to stay in, 3 wide receivers on the field, a tight end, run the football and all that. Jacob Warren, been in college for a decade. I will take Jacob Warren with the 12th overall pick.
I love the tight end position. I took McCallan Castles, but I think Jacob Warren's ready to step up. That's going to be huge. I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the football. Somebody's got to defend the pass. And when you look at Tennessee's group of defensive backs, who's the best of the group? Crickets. Give me a new guy. Give me Gabe Judy Lawley. Because if I'm going to take somebody at that position, I think you can make an argument for Jalen McCullough. You can make an argument for Danico Slaughter. you can even make an argument for Warren Burrell or Kamal Hedden, but I'm going to take what I haven't seen in person, and I'm going to look at the tape that you have in evaluating a couple of Tennessee transfers from BYU on the defensive side of the ball, and take what I love to see out of Gabe Jeudy-Lally at defensive back.
When you're looking and previewing like we've been doing for 9 months now during the offseason, or 7 months, whatever, you continue to say, well, Tennessee brings pretty much everybody back in the secondary, right? But it wasn't very good. But then you add all these guys. I mean, you add Gabe Jeudy-Lally and Ricky Gibson and Jordan Matthews, who you think is going to make a push and all that. And so
it's like, I don't want to take your steam, but it's like you're going to preview Kentucky later. Kentucky's entire offensive line returns for the most part. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for them because they were awful. So everybody comes back. Okay, great. It's the same guys. So yeah. I have to go with the injection of the new guy, but I think you're looking a lot. Tennessee defensive back versus Kentucky offensive line is very similar.
Knowing I still need a quarterback and knowing I need a running back, and because you're set there, I'm just giving away my whole strategy here. Those will be my last 2 picks. I'm taking some leap picks here, all right? This has the potential, my next pick, to be very much boom, or it could be bust. Saw a little bit of time in mop-up duty last year. You can't really take his stats and sacks into consideration because it was against, it was in mop-up duty. It sounds like he's had a really good spring and a really good summer. Let's see if it can translate. The edge position, Roman Harrison will be your starter. He'll play 50 snaps a game, but all 4 of those guys will play. Joshua Joseph's got the most run last year, but I think the highest upside is James Pierce. Tennessee has got to find a way to get to the quarterback. That will help out the secondary, and I think James Pierce has the highest ceiling of those guys, and I think it's incredibly hot for Caleb Herring as well. It's a true freshman, and Joshua Josephs, but give me James Pierce on the edge for the 15th or the 14th overall pick.
All right, I'm going to stay defense again. Give me another transfer. I mentioned him a moment ago. Give me Keenan Peely at linebacker. I need a linebacker, I think, to fill out my defense, to get one guy at each level. And so for me, it's Keenan Peely. I think there are other guys. Certainly, you already took the top linebacker in Aaron Beasley off the board. But I like what I see on film. We'll see how it translates to the SEC. Unlike Gabe Jeudy-Lally, he doesn't have SEC experience previously as he did at Vanderbilt. But give me what Keenan Peely does, going side to side, good size, 6'3", 240. Looking forward to seeing what he does this year.
Yeah, he's the old man of the group. He's 24 years old. He's married. He's been there, done that. Overcome a big-time injury, and I just think it's the perfect piece in this linebacker room that, you've got Beasley and Peely who will be your starters. Arian Carter is going to be next up off the bench, in my opinion, as a true freshman. Elijah Herring. You've got Jeremiah Thielander. You've got Caleb Perry. You're deep at that position now, and I think these young guys can really learn from an experienced guy like Keenan Peely. We'll stay on defense, and you asked the question about the secondary a moment ago. Who's the best guy back there? And to me, it's hands down Danico Slaughter. That does not mean he didn't make mistakes last year. Guy that started his first career game ever at South Carolina in 2020, and then you never saw from him again. Comes in, gets a few snaps at safety at LSU, and then Jalen McCullough gets suspended. He stays at safety. McCullough comes back, goes to cornerback, just randomly, and balls out against Kentucky. He was learning on the fly last year, especially playing out of position. But you talk about high upside guys. That Kentucky game you referenced it a moment ago, boy, that hit to Dane Key across the middle, going up, playing underneath route, and getting that interception. Love the upside of Danico Slaughter. If you can find some consistency, I think he's easily going to be your best defensive back, and that's why I will take Danico Slaughter at number 16.
All right, now I need some big boys. Now, your offensive line selections were Spraggins and Mays, correct?
Yes.
All right, give me the big guy, Jeremiah Crawford. Give you some experience. Third year in the program at Tennessee, 6'5", 315. Consider Gerald Mincey, but give me Jeremiah Crawford as a guy who can be versatile on the line, who's going to try to protect just long enough that my guy can sling it downfield and get it to a couple of those open receivers.
I like it. I'm now down to my last 2 picks. So you know where they're coming from. Knowing that I think Jabari Small's a good back in this league, knowing I think he's done a really good job the last couple of years. I think he runs tough and all that. There's some durability issues there. I'm going to take Dylan Sampson. I think he proved that he can run between the tackles a little bit last year, had a really nice freshman season when given the opportunity. I think Jaylen Wright's the guy in the backfield this year, but I like the high upside of Dylan Sampson at running back, so that's who I will take at number 18.
All right, so then that becomes, do I need a second offensive lineman to protect my guys, or do I need to go back to a skill position? I feel pretty good at where I am at receiver, tight end, running back, quarterback. I have somebody for each of the 3 levels of defense. But you can never have enough playmakers to give me Dylan Sampson at running back. That gives me 2 running backs, a couple
I just
of
took
guys.
Dylan Sampson.
Huh?
I just took Dylan Sampson.
Oh, you just took Dylan Sampson. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, then give me. You don't have small, correct?
I do not have small.
Okay, then give me small. Give me the actual thunder and lightning / lightning and lightning that Tennessee's going to have at the top. I think Sampson's going to be a guy that comes in a lot, but give me those top 2 guys. They're both on my roster. Give me all of that at running back. So I've got Small and Wright. We're scoring points. We may not stop anybody. We may not protect very well, but we're going to get downfield, and we're going to get downfield in a hurry.
Yeah, Jabari Small is going to come in there like when you're on the 4-yard line and vulture away a touchdown like he always does. But, hey, that's how Tennessee will do it. It'll be Small and Wright, and you got him there. And we're now at the 20th overall pick, and I got to have somebody to throw the football to all these playmakers, so that's where I will take freshman, 5-star, number 1 overall player in the 23 cycle, according to On3, Nico Iamaleava. Okay, so let's look at this again real quick, couple of minutes. Here's Brice Rice's team. He goes Joe Milton, Jaylen Wright, Romel Keaton, McCallan Castles, Squirrel White, Amari Thomas, Gabe Judy Lawley, Keenan Peely, J.J. Crawford, and Jabari Small. My team, Bru McCoy, Dante Thornton, Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, Aaron Beasley, Jacob Warren, James Pierce, Danico Slaughter, Dylan Sampson, and Nico Iamaleava. I know that's a lot of names I just threw out there, but Brian, who do you think has the better team here, me or you?
Yours is probably more balanced. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Now, you have a freshman quarterback, and I have a sixth-year senior quarterback.
True.
The question I think comes down to kind of this season gets into this conversation, which is, what do you have if Joe Milton turns an ankle? Is Nico ready to handle those weapons and to be able to dish out the football the way that you need to win games? That's going to be the question around him. That's why you don't want a freshman as quarterback. That's why it was so important that Joe Milton did what he did in the Vanderbilt game and in the bowl game against Clemson. Top to bottom, if Tennessee wants to run the football a lot, they're going to rotate a couple of running backs. That obviously is difficult to do in the up-tempo offense that they run, but there are some creative ways to do it. Pick your spots. Do it after a first down. Do it after a long play. Or do it on a play that teams aren't expecting you to rotate. Something that I've seen this offense do as I've gone back and watched some games is when they've substituted, it's not been in a natural situation. It's been on 2nd and 3. They'll run a couple of guys on and a couple of guys off because you've just picked up a big first down, and then you want to go fast as soon as they spot the ball. So Tennessee substitutes on 2nd down more than I thought I did in the original watch. So you're going to do that, and I'm interested to see how they do that at receiver. So the depth of receiver that we both have in our mock teams here, I think is important. How much will they rotate those guys? They didn't the last 2 years. What does that mean for this year? I think with the weapons that you have, you're going to want to get some fresh guys on the field when you can, when it doesn't affect your tempo and doesn't allow the defense to make good counter moves.
Talking about that tempo on offense, we went hurry up, fast pace through this draft right here, but a whole lot of fun, Brian. I appreciate the time, and tell us what we can look forward to on the Eric Ainge Show next week. The highlight of the year is already gone. Petroff Day was last Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it was, but what else can we look forward to on the Eric Ainge Show?
Coming up, not next week, but the week after, we're actually going to start a preview with our friends at Food City for opponents, one a day for 10 shows, and then we're going to get into a position preview, position by position, and doing it a little later as camp goes on will give us the opportunity to kind of break down who is making moves, who maybe that you don't know about Tennessee's going to count on this year, because there are a lot of snaps available on this football team. There's a lot of competition at spots like offensive line and defensive back where you stockpiled a lot of talent. Now it's time to figure out how best to use it.
Voice of the Lady Vols and co-host of the Eric Ainge Show, Brice Rice. Give him a follow on Twitter at Brian C. Rice. B. Rice, appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Cainer, thank you.
Segment number 3 of a Friday show, guys. Appreciate you for being here. That was a whole lot of fun. I love doing that player draft exercise. Try to do it before camp every single year. Again, it's the brainchild of Tyler Ivins, who I used to do mornings with over at 99.1 The Sports Animal. Thought about reaching out to him. He's going to see this and be like, what the heck, man? He just stole my idea, didn't even use me. But he was on the air by the time I was about ready to record this. So it is what it is, Tyler. You can get over it. But a whole lot of fun. Let me know what you think. I'm not trying to lie here. I think my team was Smoke Brian's team, but that's just me. What say you? Fill out those comments on the YouTube channel and tweet me at _Cainer. Thanks so much for following and subscribing wherever you get your podcast. Subscribing on Locked On Vols YouTube channel and rating me 5 stars, leaving me positive reviews. We are a top 100 podcast, football podcast. It's all thanks to you everydayers. All right, I'm not going to try to keep you here all day, but it is a Friday. I want to continue to work through the Scouting the Opponent series, and we will go to Kentucky. This is kind of the end of that gauntlet, right? I mean, you still have challenging games on the schedule, obviously, with Georgia, but you go from A&M to Alabama and then to Lexington to play Kentucky in three-week stretch. Pretty challenging, right? And, of course, historically, Tennessee has no issue with Kentucky. Prior to Josh Heupel taking over the reins, Kentucky had won 2 of the last 4. Tennessee's 2-0 against Kentucky with Josh Heupel, including putting the smackdown on them with a couple quick first-half scores, first couple of play scores in Lexington in 2021, and then absolutely demolishing Kentucky 44-6 in 2022. It's going to be in Week 9. Game number 8 on the schedule for Tennessee, October 28th on the road in Lexington, so it's going to be a chilly night. And Kentucky's coming off a 7-6 season. Head coach Mark Stoops entering his 11th year, 66-59 overall. Looking at an offense that was just not good with Will Levis at quarterback, yet my Tennessee Titans think it's a great idea to draft Will Levis. At least they didn't do that in the first round, but still you traded up in the second round when you could have really helped your roster out, but whatever. Will Levis led offense at Kentucky, last in the SEC in scoring, 22.1 points per game. Next to last in total, 336 yards per game. That was not good. Got to go back and get offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, who Mark Stoops hired prior to the 2021 season from the NFL. More success in 2021. Went to the Rams, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator. Stoops went back and got him, brought him back to Kentucky, and trying to fix the issues on offense. And it's all going to stem down to quarterback transfer Devin Leary from NC State. In 2021, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, guys. 3,400 yards passing, 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, completing 65% of his passes. Really, really good work. He played the first 6 games, was injured in game number 6 last year in 2022, and so he was not able to finish the season, but still he led NC State to a 4-1 record in those 5 games prior to his injury, and he had 11 touchdowns. So, again, an injury-plagued 22 season. If he can go back to 2021, watch out for Kentucky, especially with Liam Cohen calling the plays. It could be dangerous. He's got a lot of toys to play with, right? Wide receivers. Top 3 leading wide receivers come back for Kentucky this year. Barian Brown, who as a true freshman had nearly 700 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns. Tavian Robinson, 40 receptions, over 500 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Dane Key had 37 receptions, over 500 yards, and 6 touchdowns as well. Pretty good wide receivers to work with, and you get your starting tight end, Jordan Dingle, 20 receptions, over 200 yards as well. Running backs, you lose Chris Rodriguez, right? Only 9 rushing touchdowns for Kentucky last year. C-Rod had 6 of them. So Juton McClain comes back. He was RB2 for Kentucky last year. Had a little over 200 yards. But what Kentucky gets this year is a really good running back from Vanderbilt. Transfer Ray Davis, who ran for over 1,000 yards last year as well. So a team that only averaged 3.3 yards per carry in 2022 with an abysmal passing attack as well. Look for that to improve in 2023, no doubt. The offensive line's the biggest issue. I know Brian commented earlier in the show about how they return a lot. They lose some tackles. They return a lot in the interior. But to his point, Kentucky was just straight trash on the offensive line last year. 42 sacks. That was 42 sacks allowed, 13th most in the SEC. They bring in Marquez Cox from Northern Illinois, Cortland Ford from USC, and Ben Christian from Ohio State, all to try to figure out who's going to play those 2 tackle spots. The interior, they bring back a lot in Jager Burton, who had 13 starts at left guard as a freshman last year, Eli Cox at center, and Kenneth Horsey, who started 33 straight games at right guard. So they're good on the interior. They got to figure it out on the exterior. You look at the defense, okay, and despite being just horrendous on offense, defense is pretty solid. Third in the SEC in points per game, giving up just over 19. Third in total defense, only 320 yards surrendered a game. Both right behind Alabama and Georgia, so pretty solid up front, typical for a Mark Stoops club, right? You defensive linemen, you do return some veterans like Trayvon Rapka, Octavius Oxendine, Tennessee fans know that name. Devin Walker, who was a freshman All-American last year. That's what you have returning those veterans on the offensive or the defensive line. At linebacker, you lose a lot. This is inside and outside in terms of the edge. Key departures, you've got Jordan Wright, who's with the Bears right now, I believe. Jarquez Jones, who's had a couple different minicamp tryouts. DeAndre Square, who's with the Rams right now, no longer in the program. You do bring back leading tackler De'Aric Jackson, who had 67 stops last year and 4 TFLs, and you get Trevin Wallace, who had 6 starts as a true freshman last year at the second layer of the defense. Cornerback, you lost your 2 starters at corner as well, but you bring in Cincinnati transfer J.Q. Hardaway, who's thought of to hold down one of those spots. At safety, you bring back Jordan Lovett. He was the 3rd leading tackler with over 60 tackles last year. But still, this unit only corralled the quarterback 19 times. 19 sacks in 2022. Got to be more dynamic if you want to take a step in the right direction if you're Kentucky's defense, which is overall pretty solid. Just didn't get home a lot. You need the transfers to hit, though, especially at linebacker and especially at cornerback for sure. So that's a look at Kentucky. On paper, Kentucky should be much better. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not one to say that Kentucky's gonna beat Tennessee, but let me take a drink of this coffee as my voice is going crazy. I'm not one to say that Kentucky's going to beat Tennessee, but I'm also not one to say that that's a gimme game, because it's not. It's on the road. It's a rivalry game, and Kentucky's got a lot of talent on the roster, and you significantly upgraded a quarterback and play caller. So it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough end to the 3-week stretch for Tennessee, starting with A&M, at Alabama, and then at Kentucky. So should be a big one. Should be it's one of those toss-up games, guys, that we're talking about that could make or break the season. A huge game. Battle of the Beer Barrel. We wish, right? The Border Bowl. The Border War. Love this rivalry. If Tennessee has 3 permanent opponents, I pray and pray and pray Kentucky is that 3rd permanent opponent. I pray. I'd rather play Kentucky than Vanderbilt. I just would. I love this rivalry. I love it, love it, love it. So Kentucky, in my opinion, will be better this year, and it's a game that Tennessee's got to play well on the road. Just got to find a way to win, and I think that it can. Wow, what a fun show. Whole lot of fun catching up with Brice Rice doing the player draft. Let me know whose draft was better. I'm going to try to make some graphics of them on social media. Whose player draft was better, mine or Brice Rice's? Fill out those comment sections. Let me know what you think. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this again. Who the teams were. This is my team, okay? Bru McCoy, Dante Thornton, Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, Aaron Beasley, Jacob Warren, James Pierce, Danico Slaughter, Dylan Sampson, Nico Iamaleava. This is Brian's team. Joe Milton, Jaylen Wright, Ramel Keaton, McCallan Castle, Squirrel White, Amari Thomas, Gabe Judy Lawley, Keenan Peely, J.J. Crawford, Jabari Small. Whose team would win in a backyard football brawl? Let me know. Fill out those comment sections. Tweet me at _Cainer. And as always, you everydayers, thanks so much for being here. We'll be back on Monday. Fall camp, media day. It's on Tuesday. First practice is on Wednesday, and we'll have you covered all right here at Locked On Balls. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Balls.